Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today our guest is Sam Hales. Thanks for being on the show, Sam.
Whitney, thanks so much. Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure to have you on, Sam. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation because just from reading through your bio, you've done a lot, and no doubt about it, you've created some processes and systems to accomplish this. But even before the last couple of years of what you've done, Sam is a dad to 10 children. You better believe you've got some processes in the house, right?
we better. If we haven't figured it out by now, we better start figuring it out pretty soon. Yeah, for sure.
Wow. So no doubt you're good at processes and systems. And he's been a real estate private equity fund manager since 2011, and single family homes, multifamily development, land development, entitlement, office, industrial, and even a boutique hotel. Started purchasing mobile home parks in 2017, and this is his full-time endeavor now. And listen to this. Currently owns 18 communities with 9 more under contract. And so that's in the last 2 years. Isn't that right, Sam?
That's right. Yeah, that actually started kind of the end of 2017. So we're really kind of coming up on 2 years, 2 full years.
Wow. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing about that. Tell the listeners kind of where you're located, anything else about your background we need to know, and let's jump into how you're doing this.
Awesome. So I'm sitting in my office in Auburn, California, which, if anybody knows Sacramento and Lake Tahoe, Auburn's kind of right in between the two of those. Kind of a nice growing bedroom community. My background is actually in technology. So before becoming a fund manager in 2011, I was in the tech space in Silicon Valley, and engineering background. And as we'll discuss, that's kind of, I'm coming from that angle, and that's the sort of thing I try to bring some of those experiences and some of that background into our business today.
Okay. So engineering background, but why real estate? What pushed you into real estate?
So even when I was doing engineering, I just had this desire to do real estate. So it started off with just the first single family home that my wife and I bought and moved into. And within 3 years, we renovate it and actually, pull the carpets up and refinish the floors ourselves, kind of all that sort of stuff. It was like the night job, right? And then that worked out really well selling that, and just kind of got the bug, I think, from there. And so started doing some single family home investment on the side. And really wanted to kind of leverage that into a full-time sort of endeavor. Went to business school, and one of my associates or classmates at business school, we got together and formed a fund. In fact, right after school, we kind of launched it.
Okay. So you started this fund, and that's what pushed you into, I guess, really into real estate, but now into the mobile home park side, where you've really just ramped up this business. How did that start?
Single family investment is challenging. There's some groups that have done it at a very large scale, right? Like Blackstone. And you talk about processes. I mean, they've really kind of fine-tuned the processes that they're using there. But for somebody that's doing 100 or 200 homes, to develop all those processes for assets that are all over the place is really challenging. And so even as we were kind of wrapping up our single family fund and, starting to sell and that sort of thing, as I looked around, I thought, the yields have come down on single family. I'm looking for something that's going to be a little easier to manage and easier to actually put some processes in place for. And it had some experience in multifamily, but of course, when I think multifamily, most people think multifamily, it's not mobile home parks, it's standing apartment buildings and that sort of thing. And it was actually my banker who, it's a bank called 5 Star Bank. We'd been with them for a few years, and they said, "Hey, Sam, we really like you, but what we really love is we love mobile home parks. So if you'd start buying those we're in. We'll do that with you. So funny enough, right? It was actually our bank that kind of got us interested in the space.
Wow, that's interesting. So I don't think I've heard that before. The bank comes to you and says, "We really like this asset class. If you'll go do that, we're going to partner with you." But also, it sounds like, I mean, they already had you already had a really good relationship with them. It seems like they're probably not going to do that with just anybody.
Yeah, no, that's true. We'd had a good relationship for a few years, mostly doing these single family investment. We've done one office building with them. So there was kind of that history, and they liked me well enough to say, "Hey, go buy these, and we'll backstop you." So it's been an awesome relationship.
Nice. Okay, so now though, to get to 18 communities and 9 under contract, I can't even imagine that, like having 9 under contract at the same time, different communities, and so. I wanted to, tell me about these systems though, and these processes that, that you had to develop to be able to scale that fast.
Well, yeah, it's certainly been an iterative process. So some of the things that we've done, first of all, mobile home park investment, unlike, maybe standard multifamily, there's less sophistication in the space. And so when you look for tools, I mean, even this boutique hotel that we did, I like using high, top of the market tools that people have spent a lot of money and expertise developing, and then you pay your subscription service every month, and you get really high quality solutions. There aren't very many of those in the mobile home park space, and so we've had to actually develop some on our own. So we use anything from kind of standard type tools that are available generally, and we customize them for the mobile home park space. So for project management, we use Asana. It's a great project management tool, and basically each mobile home park becomes their own project in our system, and then all the tasks that we're doing and who's assigned and when it's due and what's dependent on what. So we do a lot of project management. We're buying mobile home parks that need a lot of fix up. So it's anything like that where it's a standard off the shelf that we customize a little bit to, we've developed our own web crawler that goes out and looks for mobile home parks that are located in opportunity zones. So it's a very custom solution, obviously very niche-y to our needs, but kind of the software development side of it, we have some of that expertise in house, and so we're able to kind of develop some of those tools that really make things so much more efficient than hiring, more people that are going to have, or maybe going to even struggle with those processes. If it's very repeatable, we're always looking for a way to kind of automate those processes.
Why not, right? Why not automate it? And so we also use Asana, and I feel like I've barely skimmed the surface of that software, and what it could do for us. But even that's like, when do I take the time to like really keep educating myself and getting in a better habit of using that thing, but it's good. I mean, what the few things that we use it for, it's good, but any system like that, it doesn't work unless you use it, right?
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
So, it's interesting though, you all had a skill, where you can obviously build software, you can do these things. So you talked about building a web crawler, kind of makes me itch a little bit thinking about that. But now, you all are able to build something like that to help your real estate business, and not everybody has that skill, and so it kind of gives you a leg up, on finding deals. And so I'd love to hear how you're finding properties, and is it something like that, or maybe some systems that you've developed to be able to find this many this fast?
Yeah, well, and I tell people that's the biggest challenge for our business. It probably is for almost anybody in the real estate space generally at this point, is like, where do you find a deal that pencils, it makes sense, right? There's obviously a lot of capital chasing not enough deals. So we've done a combination. I mean, we've certainly purchased, I'd say, about half of our deals from brokers, and then the others have been a collection of kind of outreach that we've made, and this is one of my favorites is the following. We've got, so it would be a broker, but a local broker versus a nationally or a broker with a national presence. So I'll give you an example. We're in a market in North Carolina. We found a park there that was kind of available online. Like you could find it a couple places, but wasn't really well advertised. And when I called the broker, he was really excited because he'd had a private equity group that had been buying in the region for a while, and they had just told him a few weeks before, hey, we're kind of done buying, and we're just going to operate for a while. And so this guy, he's sitting there in his local market thinking, man, I got these deals and I don't have any buyers, which he wasn't nationally, he didn't have a national presence. If he did, he would have known, hey, tell you what, there's tons of buyers out there.
Right.
You just need to know how to reach them. And so from that broker, we closed one deal. We have two more in escrow, and he just found us a third one. So it's created this symbiotic relationship where he doesn't otherwise have buyers. It's a good market, and so we're just excited about kind of exploring that as much as we can and trying to generate as many deals as we can from something like that. But we've seen that a number of times where the hard part when you're just doing the direct outreach is you don't really know if you have a seller or not. I mean, everybody will sell at a certain price, right? But you have to sift through a lot of people to get somebody that's actually really interested in selling. So if I know they're a seller, but they don't have the kind of reach to find the market, so to speak, those are my favorite kind. I mean, because we know at that point, hey, we can do a deal here. We just put one into contract Friday, and it's in this market that I'm telling you about, 270 spaces, and our purchase price is going to be $3.3 million. And it's a fantastic location. It's got nice streets, everything's public utilities. It's going to be a very nice park for us.
Wow. I won't ask you what that broker's name is. So
give me 12 months. Once we bought all the deals there, I'm happy to share. Happy to share.
So, finding deals is very difficult right now. So it's awesome though that you were able to find, this local broker. And I'm glad you brought up that difference there. Like, seeking out this local broker as opposed to someone who has a national presence. And I think a lot of times it's a different mentality almost, if this brokerage only services this local community, and that's it, as opposed to a broker who he goes to conferences and knows other brokers from all over the country.
Right. And he knows lots of buyers. So I'll give you one other example, Whitney. We went into escrow on a property in Columbus, Georgia, and I flew out there for the due diligence trip. As I'm driving to the property, I see a sign about a half mile before the property I was headed to, and it said mobile home park for sale. And I'm thinking, wait, is that the one I'm about to, so I go down, I do my visit, and I'm like, hey, do you guys know about the one down the street? And I was like, no, we've never heard of it. We're not sure what you're talking about. So I drove back there, and it was an old faded sign. Really at that point didn't know, is this thing actually for sale? And I called the broker, and again, it was a local guy, first time ever selling a mobile home park. And was he happy to talk to me, right? And that's probably been our best deal. We purchased that one, 113 space. So we're at like $8,000 a space, which is, just to develop a space is $20,000 in most markets. So you're getting it way under replacement value. It was actually a full park. It was being mismanaged, and sellers that were out of state and just, wanted to be done. So anyway, yeah, we love those. We love those local brokers for sure.
So you ended up getting both of those really close together.
We bought both of those, right down the street from one another. Yeah.
Wow. So what are some other, maybe another system that's crucial that you have in place to be able to manage this many opportunities this fast?
Yeah. And I should kind of give the caveat that we certainly aren't perfect. I mean, there's things that we're working on all the time to kind of improve and that sort of thing. So here's one this has been an awesome tool for us. So we're using our property management system. It's called Rent Manager. And so we've got, that's just kind of managing, hey, here's all your parks, and here's each site, and here's what everybody owes, and here's your delinquency reports. And it's great because you can run all these great reports from it. But I wanted a tool where I could oversee and get a feel for how are we doing with marketing the new homes that we're buying in all these different markets. I mean, we're in 9 different states and a lot of different places. How do we kind of automate some of that? And so we found this tool. It's called Show Mojo, and it links directly into Rent Manager, and then it syndicates out any listings that you have to the web. It goes out to Zillow, goes out to Trulia, and there's other services like this. One of the things it does, it goes out to Facebook Marketplace, which we found for us is probably 90% of our market. That's where we find most of our buyers. And what's nice is I get a report every day, or I can log on anytime I want and see exactly, hey, this listing here had 12 showings in the last 24 hours. Here's your conversion rate. It kind of does these heat maps showing, how everybody's doing. It's been awesome. And so then for our regional managers, it's easy for them to kind of follow up and say, hey, look, we've got a problem here in Tallahassee, Florida. What's going on? Why are we not moving this inventory? Why are we not getting any showings and that sort of thing? So that's been another really awesome tool for us.
That is pretty awesome. That is very awesome. I hope the listeners heard that. And you said Show Mojo. Show
Mojo. That's right. Yeah. So Mojo, Mojo.
And that will blast out pretty much your ad or, to all those places, including Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah. They even have a feature. We haven't started to use this yet, but you get like a virtual lockbox. And it's actually a virtual lock. So you replace the regular door handle and lock that's on the home with the virtual one. And then they can set it up so they screen the applicants. If the applicant passes the screening, they get a code that's good for the half hour where they're going to go see the home. They get all their background information. So you can have people going out doing showings. Nobody's even there necessarily to meet them. We're not sure how we feel about that, so we haven't really,
right.
But we're probably going to start testing it pretty soon here. And the cool thing is, once they buy it, then you give them a code, and it then works for the rest of their tenancy there. Or if it's their home, you just give them the code, and then so you never have to swap out the locks again. You don't have to chase down keys or keep track of keys and that sort of thing. So,
and that's part of Rent Manager or Show Mojo?
That's part of Show Mojo. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And so, you were talking about you're buying mobile home parks in opportunity zones, and we've talked about opportunity zones a few times on the show. Maybe you give us just like the 1-minute version or so of like what is an opportunity zone, and then let's talk about like why you're doing that.
Awesome. So opportunity zones, there's about 8,600 of them nationwide. It's a federal tax credit program or federal tax program, but it's actually administered on a state level. So each of the governors then decided, hey, here's the criteria, and they got to go out and designate where the opportunity zones are in their particular state. And there's all sorts of tax advantages. There's deferral and your gains after 10 years can be completely eliminated for whatever profits were made inside of the fund. It has to be some sort of opportunity zone fund that's set up. But anyway, if you look around, most of these opportunity zone funds are focused on ground up development. So if it's Class A apartments or hotels, those are kind of the two main types you're seeing. We're starting to see a little more creativity now. There's some live, work, live type of offerings as well. And the reason that most people are focused on the ground up developments is that there's a requirement that there has to be 100% increase in the basis, what's called substantial improvement. And as we started learning about opportunity zones, we realized, this is perfect for what we're doing, because the political intent is how do you help people that are less advantaged? And that, it's like I tell people, every mobile home park should probably be in an opportunity zone. I mean, these are the people that we really are trying to help, or politically that we're intended to help. It's not to build a really nice hotel in a bad area, right?
Right.
And then what we started figuring out once we realized that, it's substantial improvement. It's just whatever the improvements are in place that need to be doubled, not the land value. This is a great fit for mobile home communities, because in terms of real estate, a mobile home community is less developed, right? I mean, it's just roads, sewer lines, water lines, some lighting, maybe a sign, potentially stick-built clubhouse or something like that. But a lot of times we don't even have those in these communities that we're buying. And so the amount of investment that we need to make in order to double the basis is not that much. And it's a sort of thing that we're already doing. So it economically made a lot of sense. And then the nice thing is, from an investment perspective, there's less risk, right? Because you've got an asset, it's already generating cash flow. And now you're just looking for ways to kind of improve that cash flow, maybe bring the rents up as you make it a nicer community. Our average occupancy in our OZ fund is about 50%. So upon acquisition, so there's tons of room to kind of add occupancy as we make these communities more desirable.
So is occupancy going to be the biggest factor in say doubling the developed value? I mean, is that a factor, or is it going to be more like replacing the homes, or how do you know you're going to be able to do that when you're going into an opportunity zone?
Yeah. So what we do is every acquisition that we look at, we develop at least a rough budget for, hey, here we're going to need to redo the roads, we're going to need to redo some of the water lines. Your question as far as increasing occupancy and how much does that add basis, that is quite a significant portion of it, because a lot of times if there's vacant units, the reason that those lots don't have homes on them is because there's maybe a really old electrical pedestal that needs to be updated. Maybe the water doesn't work on that one. Maybe there's a drainage problem, all this sort of stuff. So that's part of what we're going to do, is fix all that sort of stuff so we can actually bring a home in. And then it's funny. I mean, most of these situations we're very easily doubling or tripling kind of our basis in the property.
All right, just a few more questions before we run out of time, Sam. But what's been the hardest part of this journey for you, the syndication or this mobile home park?
Yeah, it's funny. One of the things I think that was appealing to me about the mobile home community business, as I started researching it, was, hey, this could be easy, right? Because people own their own homes. You don't have to fix those. You make the community nice, and then people are going to want to live there and whatever. It's definitely more challenging than probably if you just read or just listen. The experiences, it's definitely more challenging than that. It's hard to fill a community. Takes a lot of capital to bring the homes in. It takes a lot of effort to change the perspective, I'd say, on a community. A lot of times we actually rename our communities if they've had a bad name, because we kind of want to create a fresh start as much as possible. But all those things take some time. And so like anything, it seems, in life that's worthwhile, it takes consistent effort. And that's been, not to say the most challenging, but that's been just another reminder of, hey, yeah, this is something we're building. We're not sellers. We like to go in, buy, and we tell our investors there's a plan to recapitalize and get them their investment capital back. But we want to keep them in, and we don't plan to sell these communities. We want to build them, fill them, and just hold on to them and just kind of build this portfolio over time.
Nice. So I was thinking about something we said a minute ago, and it's about opportunity zones and about having to double the developed value. That just means not the land. You can't not the land value, but what's on the land, right? And
Yeah.
But in mobile home parks, and mobile home parks have not been my focus, and so that's why I'm asking also. But it's like, since you don't own the homes, really does the home play any value in that?
No, that's a great question. So, and the answer is it can, right? So, a lot of times in the communities that we're buying and investing in, there's going to be a significant portion of the people that would like to live in our community that cannot get standard financing. When I say standard, there's financing available out there. If we bring in a brand new home And there's lenders like 21st Mortgage and some of these other lenders that will go ahead and give a loan on a, prospective resident of ours. But there's a whole subset of people that are not going to qualify there, but are still hardworking and have the money, have the income to afford to live in our community. Mobile home parks are the largest non-subsidized affordable housing in the country. And so these are people that are working, they're making a living for themselves and their families. So anyway, the point is, if we give them a lease with an option to purchase, or just a lease that extends at least the 10 years that's required for the opportunity zone investment, then that can also count towards the basis, doubling of the basis for the investment.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's some details there you need to understand.
Yeah, for sure. And
For
it's
sure.
taken a while to research and kind of understand all this stuff. Yeah.
So how are you preparing for another potential downturn?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt it's going to come. None of us knows for sure what it's going to look like exactly. That was another part of the mobile home park investment that was very interesting to me. I had heard this rumor that there's two publicly traded mobile home park entities, or REITs, Equity Lifestyle and then Sun Communities. They've both been on the public equity markets for about 20 years, and I had heard that they had never reported, or that every quarter they'd had same store NOI growth, meaning take out all the acquisitions or adding lots or whatever, that if you just looked at the average lot across their portfolio, that every single quarter over 20 years, that lot had become more valuable because it had generated more income. Which, when I thought about that, I'm like, that seems unbelievable, right? Because you think about the Great Recession, you think about the .com crash. I mean, that, they were listed all during all of that. Like, is that really true? I have a brother-in-law that works on Wall Street, and I was like, can you get this data for me? I'd love to look at it. And he sent me the Excel data and looked at it, and sure enough, every single quarter for those two REITs that are focused on mobile home communities, they'd seen growth even during some really tough economic times. So, and that doesn't tell the whole story, right? Because our portfolio doesn't look just like theirs. I think anecdotally, what I've learned from other people is, if you've created a nice community, you've created a place where people want to live, then yes, you're going to do fine during these downturns. If you're slumlording it, like honestly most of the sellers that we buy from, people given a choice, and if things get really tight, they're gonna go somewhere else, because this is not a place they want to live anyway. So that's kind of the message to us, is we like this space because it is affordable, and in general that seems to do very well during a downturn, but it's still got to be a nice place that is safe and clean for families.
Nice. Some good data to have, or access to data that you have.
Yeah.
So Sam, what's a way that you have recently improved your business that we could apply to ours?
I guess we talked about, some of the efficiencies that we're creating. I love to learn from other people. I was meeting with another real estate or in fact, specifically for mobile home park, owner, syndicator. And we were just kind of swapping notes, like, hey, what are you doing about this? What are you doing about this? And he mentioned, hey, we're using this system for our accounts payable that kind of automates all of that, so that, right now I approve all the invoices, and it takes me, I probably spend an hour a day, like reaching out to the regional manager and the on-site managers and saying, hey, has this work been done? Is this verified? I mean, are we ready to pay all this stuff? And anyway, we're just getting rolling with a product called Avid Exchange, which automates and you can kind of set up your, hey, here's your approval process for these communities, and it's a different approval process over here. And people have to validate and maybe upload the photos to show the work's been done. Just kind of automating all of that. And anyway, so that's probably the latest thing. But I just love different efficiencies like that make it so much easier for everybody to kind of get their job done.
No, I like that. Avid Exchange to automate the invoicing process.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your best advice for caring for investors?
I think what I've learned is to really overdo the communication. So, and it's probably not even overdoing it, but I try to send out at least once a month some sort of update. I mean, we'll do our standard quarterly reports, but I just like to set, and a lot of times it's maybe anecdotal, like, hey, I was in my travels and learned a few things, and here's something interesting that I learned, or whatever, just to kind of keep ourselves as an investment vehicle kind of top of mind, and then we're white labeling a solution from CrowdStreet to communicate with our investors, so they can log in, they can see their K1s, they can see all their, what their distributions were and the timing and all that sort of stuff. And I think having that has been huge for us. We've been on their platform for about 3 years, and that's been awesome.
What would you say is the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
It's a good question. I would say that something that I've found that's I think really helped is being willing to do something that maybe nobody else is doing, at least not yet. I mean, in other words, seeing an opportunity, and then despite the fact that it's like, well, why aren't others doing this? Kind of being courageous enough to go ahead and do that. So opportunity zones and mobile home parks seemed like a natural fit to me. And as I started researching it, I'm like, why isn't anybody doing this? Like this totally makes sense. Am I missing something? I mean, you start asking yourself some of these questions. But anyway, and went forward with that. And as far as I know, I mean, at least we were kind of the first ones to start getting some press on it and that sort of thing. And there's others doing it now, but yeah, I think just being, like I said, courageous enough to find an interesting opportunity and go for it.
And Sam, how do you like to give back?
Well, I'm definitely very involved in my church, but as we talked at the beginning, I'm a family guy, and I definitely, when I think of these communities, it almost gets emotional a little bit for me, because I go there and I visit and I see the kids, and sometimes feel like they don't have the same opportunities or the same chances that maybe your children or my children do. What can we do for them? So we actually just partnered with a company called IXL, and this is, check this out. I know you've got some young children, so it's IXL.com. And what this is they have grade level skills. So if you've got a second grader, here's the 157 skills that they need to know to be really good in math in second grade. And then they kind of gamify it and make it super fun for the kids to go through and learn all this different stuff. So my children have done this, and it's been a huge part of them doing really well in school. And so I contacted IXL. I'm like, look, guys, I love this. I mean, you could use my family as a case study. Like, my kids all have done this and are doing this, but I want to be able to offer this to our communities and to the families in our communities. And IXL was very generous with us to kind of put a program together. It doesn't cost us a ton of money, and we're now rolling it out to our communities, and it's just awesome to see, because it's something that, again, I mean, you talking about efficient. We could spend 30 minutes on this, but education and the democratization of what's going on there, and how and the reach that's happening there. IXL is a great example of that, and it's just awesome that a kid that has the desire and can now have all the tools to be doing just as well as a kid that's his parents are paying $35,000 a year for private school, and that's exciting to me to be able to offer that.
That is exciting. Thanks for sharing that. I will definitely look that up. I hope the listeners will look that up as well. And it's neat that you were able to see that need in your communities and then be able to you create an avenue or a win-win there for IXL, but then also who knows how far the reach that will have, on those children and their children and so forth.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So thank you, Sam, for sharing that. Tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you and learn more about you.
Awesome. So our website is Saratoga Group. So SARATOGA Group, and it's .net. And my email is sam@saratogagroup.net.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by Life Bridge Capital. Life Bridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. Life Bridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.